Rainier Avenue Radio.
Dealing with COVID-19 is uncharted territory, and everyone has different challenges. People may feel anxious, down, or overwhelmed. For some, these feelings can lead to changes in sleep patterns, an increased use of alcohol or drugs, or withdrawing from the people around them. If you know someone who's having a hard time coping, you can help by reaching out to talk and listen. To learn more about how you can help someone in need, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-TALK. Brought to you by the state of Washington.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Houston, Texas leaders unveiled a 2-block mural dedicated to George Floyd and located directly in front of his alma mater, Jack Yates High School. Carl Davis, chairman for the Houston Society for Change, said during the dedication ceremony, quote, "We come to celebrate the life and legacy of our hometown hero, George Floyd," unquote. 46-year-old Floyd, a black man, died in May after Minneapolis police knelt on his neck for over 8 minutes. The mural in George Floyd's honor was commissioned by Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, the Houston Society for Change, and 88 CHUMP, CHUMP, a nonprofit activism organization that was created by George Floyd's teammates, according to CNN affiliate KPRC.
And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
When should you wear a mask? For almost everyone, every time you go out. Like for coffee, when you ride the bus, or head out to care for your parents. When you go to work, spend the afternoon at the park, or pick up some dinner on your way home. Whatever you do, wearing a mask is essential because it works to prevent the spread of COVID-19, and it helps keep Washington open. Mask up to open up, Washington. Coronavirus.wa.gov. This message brought to you by the state of Washington.
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our show schedule, updated weekly at rainieravenue.world.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Clean Greens Living. It's your girl, Queen Bree and Robyn T. How are you guys doing on this Thursday? Robyn, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I am great. You are listening to us here on Rainier Avenue Radio, and we are broadcasting from unceded Duwamish territory, aka Seattle, Washington. Our theme music is by Cuddy Fresh, aka Carrie Williams. Queen Bree, tell us what we have going on today for the show.
Okay, so I'm super excited. We have our executive director in the house today, and we will be talking about a few things that we can get talked about in the next 30 minutes. We're going to be talking about his book. He wrote a book, 11 Principles to Living. You can find this on Amazon, and we'll also just be talking about what's been going on in this world. But before we get started, let's give a little bit of Clean Greens update, and I have two announcements. So with our Clean Greens update, we are still currently registering people for CSAs. So if you are interested in being a CSA or a volunteer for Clean Greens Farm and Market, please visit us on www.cleangreensfarmmarket.com and sign up to get your CSAs and to be a volunteer. The CSAs, the food is fresh, crisp, and ready for you this season. Coming up this season, not just yet. And then also on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., the Urban League of Metropolitan will be giving out over 1,000 hot meals to families and individuals. You can meet them at Bailey Gasser at 1301 East Yesler 98122. So at Bailey Gasser this Saturday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., they will be giving out 1,000 hot plates. So please join them. And of course, Clean Greens on Sunday has food for up to 20 families. It's So if you know anyone who is needing food, please contact us and we will set them up Sunday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So we would like to welcome our executive director, Dr. Robert L. Jeffrey, on.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey.
I'm doing fine.
So I know this wasn't in the script, but I mentioned your book, 11 Principles to Living. You guys can find this on Amazon. This book is so good. And I think with what's going on in the world, it may be something someone should pick up to make sense of what's happening. I mean, because we have on February 6th, was it? We had the insurrection where people stormed the Capitol. And then just this past weekend, there was a trial and the verdict. So what do you guys think about that?
Right. It's so much to take in. It's so contradictory to see what certain people are able to get away with and then to reconcile. That's what Breon and I were talking about before having you on. Again, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Dr. Jeffrey.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're really wanting to dive in with you on some things about, you know, how we reconcile with some of these things, seeing it happen, because we know you have a rich history in community building, in mutual aid, in activism, personally yourself and in your community. So how do you make sense of what's going on, you know?
Well, I think that we have an element in this country that is resistant to the assimilation of all people, and it begins with their racism against African people and the assimilation of African people into this culture completely. Those numbers have been consistent throughout the history of this country, and they found a spokesperson or a voice in Donald Trump in his nationalism, and they found a way to articulate their displeasure without being, in their minds, overt racist, and they found a political way to articulate their displeasure with how society is integrating and how society is assimilating all of the citizens, the people who pay taxes and the people who have historically been marginalized. And Trump gave them a means by which they could protest. And their vote for him is basically a protest vote against the direction of democracy and the direction of assimilation of all people. And that's why they're sticking with him, because, you know, it doesn't matter whether he's president or not, as far as they're concerned. He still gives them the voice to go against the direction of democracy. And hopefully democracy will not be intimidated, and hopefully we will continue to press the agenda of inclusion. And I think that's up to us. It's always been up to the people to press the agenda of inclusion, never up to the politicians. It's always up to us to press the agenda of inclusion. So we just have to continue to press that agenda. We shouldn't be alarmed because there are many people who are opposed to that agenda. I mean, they've always been here. They were here after the Civil War. They were here doing Reconstruction, and how they hijacked that and hijacked every movement to include people of color. They've done that throughout our history, and they're attempting to hijack the movement now for complete inclusion. And I think they're desperate. So, I mean, I think they feel that they have to do whatever they have to do. And the taking over of the House, of the Congress, was a part of that desperation, part of that, fueled by the lie that Donald Trump told about him winning the election. The lie is sustainable because it feeds into their whole need to have something to hang their resistance on. And so they're hanging their resistance on this lie. They've always hung their resistance on the lie. They hung their resistance on the lie that African Americans were not human. They hung their resistance on the lie that gay and lesbians and bisexual people were sinners and God wanted to kill them. They always hang their resistance on the lie. But our resistance is always hung on the truth. And that's why it has always prevailed and why it will continue to prevail. Our resistance to that lie is hung on the truth, that Trump lost the election, that Black people are citizens of this country and have a right to all of the privileges that this country has and affords, and the equity that this country affords, and that all people who have been marginalized are people of God, children of God, and they should be accepted as that. And so as long as we hang our resistance on the truth defeats the lie ultimately in every instance.
Well, it's good.
I don't know if that answered your question or not.
No, it did. And it's good that you said that. And because I'm happy to have you on the show in these times, because when I heard the verdict for a split second, I'm not going to lie, I was just like, what is the point of this? Like, I know, and a lot of us think this way, like, what is the point? We grew up thinking, love your neighbors, everyone grew up to love your community, your neighbors, however you were taught, religiously or not religiously. We were taught to love, stand up for people, stand up for the truth. And for the past 4 years, we've been watching all these lies be excused by fake media. So how do you, especially with your book, and I'm happy to be able to follow your book because it's helping me stay focused. So how do you speak to people who feel this way and encourages them to keep going and to keep fighting?
What people have to understand is that the resistance movement in this country for justice has never been in the hands of politicians, or it's never been in the hands of the establishment. It's always been in the hands of the people. People have always expressed the issue for justice. Politicians have always wavered. They've always compromised with those who are pressing the issue for injustice. Politicians, by their very nature, want to get elected. And by the very nature of their system, they have to get along with certain kinds of people in order to get elected. It is the people. I mean, we can't sit down. I think when Obama was elected, many of us thought that we could just cease the movement. We could cease our agitation. We could cease our organizing and rest on the laurels of the political establishment. That's never been the case, and it never will be the case in this democracy, because you have two contending forces. And so we have to operate both inside the political system and outside the political system. We have to have strong organizations, community organizations that are pressing the issue. There is no political messiah. We are the saviors of ourselves, and we have to understand that. And whenever we forget that, we lapse into a situation and into an environment where we begin to pin our hopes on politicians or on political agendas, and that's a mistake.
So
as far as the book is concerned, this is just the first copy of handbooks that we're writing. The second copy will come out in October. Handbooks for guidance in terms of ethical guidance, in terms of conscious guidance. It's based on it's coming from a religious point of view, and some people who may not be religious may not find it appealing, but it's written from a religious point of view, but it's hopefully dealing with a lot of the contemporary secular issues that we have to deal with. It's a non-judgmental book. It's not written to get people saved. It's written to give people insight into what is going on and how they can keep their minds together, keep their spirit strong, and keep their back braced so that they won't crumble during these very difficult times.
I love that. I think that's exactly what Bree was getting at. How do we not crumble? How do people who have, especially you've seen the movement, you've been part of it, you've experienced pushback of some of your own efforts at resistance and community building. And it sounds like this book is going to offer some guidance on that, like you said. But can you shout out a couple of tips for those people that are like putting their hearts into this right now, that are still trying to build up that resilience, and build up what you're saying you've been building up to keep your head in there and keep yourself taken care of and be able to continue this fight? Like, what would you say in this moment for some people who are like so frustrated and tired and exhausted about it?
I think everybody needs to have a strong historical point of view. You can't see yourself as the whole. You have to see yourself and see what you're doing as a part of a continuum, as a part, just a piece of that continuum. You can't see what you're doing as the totality of what needs to be done and what will be done in the future. You do your part. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. You are a piece of that puzzle, and you make your piece the best piece it could be. If you try to make yourself the whole puzzle, then you're going to be frustrated. And if you try to solve the puzzle in your lifetime or in the context of your particular struggle, then you're going to be frustrated. If you see yourself as a piece of a continuum, a piece of a jigsaw puzzle that will ultimately come together. For example, when Harriet Tubman was freeing the slaves, I mean, she had to concentrate on freeing the slaves. She going down into the South and setting slaves free. She couldn't concentrate on ending slavery. I mean, in her mind, she didn't know whether slavery would ever end, but she had a job to do, and she did her job. The same with all of the martyrs of the past. The same with Rosa Parks when she said, "I'm not going to sit in the back of the bus." She had no idea that there would be a bus boycott. She had no idea that ultimately the laws would be changed, but she had no idea that ultimately there would be a Black president. So she was a part of a continuum, and therefore, if you understand, if you see your role not as the whole, if you see your role as being a soldier in a battle that has gone on since the first slaves were brought here and since democracy was formed, then you see, I got to finish my role. I got to do my part. You know, it's just like I hate to use sports analogies. It's just like on a team. If you're a guard, you can't be the center. You just shoot the ball. Sometimes you have good days, and sometimes you have bad days. But you perfect shooting the ball, and don't worry about the outcome of the game. You just perfect your role. And I think that's what we have to do, and we have to believe. And what the book is about is believing that the ultimate outcome is going to be okay. You know, history will teach us that the ultimate outcome is going to be okay, because Harriet didn't know that we would be sitting here today talking about a farm to feed people. She didn't know all of this, but she played her part. And that's all we can all do. Play our part, and don't really get frustrated about whether or not things are going to come together in the time frame that we want them to come together. I don't know if it makes
No, it makes it does. And I don't remember who. I'm probably gonna get fired for not remember who's saying it, but keep your eyes on the prize. And I like that you said that. Is sometimes people get so caught up in looking at the bigger picture. They're not looking at this moment. What can you do? And your book, I know it is written towards spirituality, but when I read the book, I think that it goes across to everyone, because it's really talking about what's happening right here, right now, how people are losing faith, losing hope. And then you're on a lesson of synergy right now, which is sticking together and knowing that we're sticking together regardless of beliefs right now, because we're human races. We're human races, and we need to stick together. So in that chapter right now, we're talking about what needs to happen, which is us not coming together as Republicans versus Democrats, or whatever they want to call us, but coming together as humans to take care of each other.
The only thing that should be the only thing that should be something we frown on are those who don't want to unite, those who have hate. Hate is the element that is that can't be figured into the equation. It is probably the only element. Religious differences, it shouldn't be an element that shouldn't be figured into the equation of unity. Sexual preferences shouldn't be an element that shouldn't be considered into the equation of unity. Spirituality, whatever your level of spirituality, shouldn't be an element that is eliminated into when we create the equation for unity. Only hate. Hate has no place in the circle, and those who are filled with hate are the enemies of the circle, and that we have to press. But other than that, we have to all unite. We have to all come together. We have to bring down these walls of religious differences and secular differences with religion and all of those things, because we're all in this struggle and all of this other all this other stuff that people do. People press contextual issues for their own profiteering motives and methods and motives. I mean, denominations press differences for money, and they don't press differences because that's a Bible. They press it for money. They press it for prestige. They press it for to be seen and to have power. Those are artificial things, and we have to rid ourselves of all those artificial divisions and things that divide us, and come together, and through that synergy we will be able to have power to really bring change. As long as we're seeing each other in these little enclaves, we won't be able to do much.
That is such a great way to look at it, because it's hard to think of unity when there is so much accountability that needs to be had from people who are acting out in hate in ways that really, really harm and oppress and cause death. And I'm really curious to know, what do we do with that? Do we just continue, on the side of love and unity and let the universe take care of that hate? Or do we focus on our role? Or do we try to get accountability? Because I feel like with some healing, there needs to be some type of accountability. It's hard to watch people getting away with hate. And then secondarily, I'm curious to know, just from your perspective, where do you think is the root of that hate? Is it just fear, or is it a power thing? Because I know that we don't resonate so much with that. We're trying to get this unity.
I think first of all, we press for unity, but we also create structures to combat hate. We don't just sit and know that there are people out there that are trying to destroy us. We press to create structures that will contend against those people. And I think we negotiate what those structures will be. We negotiate what those strategies will be, but we don't sit like innocent lambs being taken to the slaughter. No, we contend against those who are determined to destroy anybody that is not like them. And when we ask the question why people are like that, why people feel that way, for the same reasons that I talked about before, because they want power and they want privilege, and they want it at the expense of other people. They don't want to compete fairly. Actually, it comes from, as far as I'm concerned, some sense of inferiority. Because if you feel that you are God's creature, you feel that you are, sustainable in and of yourself, then you can compete fairly. People who don't feel that way, or people who think they are privileged, and people who feel that other people are, some of it comes naturally, that they feel other people are less than they are. But I think that at the core of it is their need to cheat. And we know that in school, people who need to cheat didn't study, and they don't feel like they are qualified to compete equally. Whatever the reason is, there are cheaters, and there are people who feel privileged and who feel that they don't have to play on an equal playing field. Those people, we have to create structures to stop them. And it is up to the people to do that. It's up to organized community efforts to do that. It's up to people to understand that these people exist, and politicians are not the final solution to stopping them, that they must be stopped by the people, just as Martin King stopped them and led movements to stop them in Montgomery and in the South, and just as other people have led movements to stop them and to bring control and to perimeter their powers. We have to continue to struggle. I mean, they are here, they're with us. They're not going anywhere, and they found a spokesman for the time being in a man who is totally obsessed with himself, and he doesn't care about what harm he puts on the country or on other people. So for the time being, they've found this idiotic spokesman. So they're hyped now. So we have to be organized. We have to come together.
If you're just joining in, you are joining into Clean Greens Living, broadcasting live off of Rainier Avenue Radio. We welcome you in. We have our executive director, Dr. Robyn L. Jeffrey here. It's your girl, Queen Bree, and Robyn T. So thanks for joining us. I think that this has been a good talk, and some of the things we want to leave everyone with is action plans. Sometimes we need action plans. And I think one thing that I do notice that a lot of people do, and I will never forget, my pastor was in the pulpit and he was like, if you don't open up your Bible, anybody can tell you anything. So you need to open up your Bible and read it when somebody's reading the scripture to you. And I think that applies in life. A lot of the things, people are letting people feed their minds with things and aren't doing the work to figure it out themselves. So I think one of the things that we can leave people with is, don't just listen to you. We keep talking about fake news, but where are you getting your news from? Are you researching what you're hearing? Are you looking at different outlets of what you're hearing? Are you only listening on your outlet? Or are you crossing every T and dotting every I? So I would suggest open up your mind and go out there and research what you're hearing, because at the end of the day, when I look at it, we're not all that different, and some of our beliefs cross on both paths. Like, we'll believe in something, but something that the other person's saying is so far off that we don't take the time to listen and research what that person is saying. So can you guys give us some leave back for people to do?
I would say, and I only jumping in here because I want Dr. Jeffrey to get the last and most word, but I would say that I didn't get taught the real history. And since it's Black History Month, and I actually like to get more Black history all throughout the year, but just being hungry for getting the real information and the real history, because they did not teach it in public schools. And I grew up in Federal Way, Washington, and I got a little bit of it, but the more I keep learning, is beneficial to me. So get on those books, like Bree says, find out information for yourself. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And get involved. Do something. I mean, I want to applaud you guys for what you're doing here with Clean Greens. You are getting ready to feed a lot of poor people this season. A lot of poor people with fresh vegetables and food that is not contaminated, food that is free of all kind of pesticide. And that's going to help a lot of people to live longer and healthier lives. So you can do something. We can all do something. And I think that we just have to be doing something for the sake of creating some kind of sustainability for people, and some kind of harmony, peace and harmony for people. And obviously, there are large things that have to be done, but I think there are people out there that are structuring things to do those things. If you can support those people, support them. If you can give them a shout out, give them a shout out. But all of us have to be involved. We have to be engaged. We have to be engaged. And I agree, we have to read, understand what went on in this country. And I appreciate how you guys opened the program with an acknowledgement of the Native Americans and that we're on their land, and how they have been treated so unjustly.
Sorry to cut you off, Dr. Jeffrey, but it is our time to go.
Yeah.
Traffic jam is coming up. Thank you for joining our show. We had a good time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Often on this show to help us, educate us, and uplift us, and talk about clean greens. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Rainier Avenue Radio .world, breaking